our next percent question is a variable in the answer choices, or VIC question. Why is it called that? Well, because there are variables in our answer choices. So VIC questions, they are more a subtype of question than they are a question type themselves. But where do they show up most commonly? They show up with percent questions a lot. They show up with rate questions a lot. I believe in the rate section, I have another VIC question. They show up with probabilities a lot. They show up with averages a lot. And I think sometimes people are intimidated by these variable in the answer choices questions because they are a bit intimidating. They look like they can take a long time, which might be true. It's hard to do them usually in under a minute. But if you have a way of approaching them, they are usually pretty manageable. And so there really are only two ways to approach them. And it is the first question that I ask myself when I see a VAC question is, how do I want to do this? Do I want to do it algebraically, or do I want to do it by testing numbers? Those are really the only two options. And so algebra is usually my preference. So when I'm doing algebra, I am just translating these statements from my prompt and trying to come up with an expression that literally matches the correct answer choice. And so I'm sort of proving the right answer to myself. However, in order to do a VIC question algebraically, you have to have a strategy for doing it algebraically. And so if you can't translate your statements into algebra, then testing numbers sort of becomes the default option. And I think these VAC questions are a good way to get some practice testing numbers, particularly testing smart numbers. And so really the ideal situation is to be able to do them both ways. And then you can choose the way that is best for you depending on the situation, because I do think that testing numbers is a very useful skill on the GMAT. I cannot do everything algebraically. And so having an organized and efficient way of testing numbers is very helpful. And so maybe I'll do this question two ways. I'll make one video algebra and one video for testing numbers. So let's do algebra first. And so which VIC questions can I do algebraically? Well, it's usually the ones that I'm used to doing as just normal problem solving questions. So things like percents or rates, because I am used to making those translations. And so let's do that here. This question says a certain village's population was X 2 years ago before the bubonic plague. In the year before the plague hit, the village's population increased by Y%, only to decrease by 10Y% after the plague hit. Which of the following expressions represents the village's population following the plague? And so it sounds a lot like our percent increase, decrease questions from before. We have our population from 2 years ago, and so that's 2 years before the plague. Then we had our population 1 year before the plague. Then we have what we're looking for, which is our population right after the plague. So it says 2 years ago, our population was X. That's just X. And then in the year before the plague, our village was doing well and the population increased by Y%. So that means we had a population of X. And then to that, we added Y%, or Y over 100 of X. And so if we want, we can factor out an X here. We get X times 1 plus Y over 100. So if Y were 20, if it increased by 20%, it would be 1.2x. Or if it increased by 50%, we'd have 1.5x. So I like this format here because it looks more like how I'm used to thinking about it. 1.2x or 1.5x or whatever. Then it says, after the plague, it decreased by 10y%. So what does that mean? So if we had, let's just do talk about this translation generically down here. So if I just said I have some population P, and then it decreases, let's not forget about 10y, let's just say it decreases by y%. So that means it was a population of p, and then I subtracted y over 100, because y% means y over 100 of p, and so this would be p times 1 minus y over 100. So in this case here, every year, remember, I'm starting off with a population that is just the population that I ended with in the previous year. So I'm starting with a population of x times 1 plus y over 100. And so that's sort of the equivalent of my p over here. And then it decreased by 10y%. And so I got to multiply that by 1 minus, not y over 100, but 10y over 100. So if you just think of percent as meaning divide by 100, then it should always work out. So that would be 10y% would be 10y over 100. And so this here, this technically is the right answer, right? We are looking for our population after the plague. And if you were confident that we made this translation here accurately, this really is the right answer. We just need to now put it in the format that our answer choices have it in. And so what does it look like they do here? So it looks like they get everything over a single denominator. And so let's start doing that, and let's start by simplifying this. And so we can start by simplifying this term right here, 10y over 100. That should just be y over 10. So x times 1 plus y over 100 times 1 minus y over 10. And then I'll simplify from the inside out, so from within the parentheses first. And so it looks like they keep our x factored out here. Let's do within the parentheses first. So 1 plus y over 100, I can write that as just 100 over 100 plus y over 100 to get a common denominator. Then this here will be 10 over 10 minus y over 10. So I have x times 100 plus y over 100 times 10 minus y over 10. So if I want to just get everything over a single denominator, I can just multiply these two fractions. So just multiply straight across. So I got x times 100 plus y times 10 minus y all over 100 times 10, which is just 1,000. So answer choices A, B, and C are looking pretty good because those are the ones that have a denominator of 1,000. But it looks like then, so what do they do? So, and this is also true of VAC questions a lot. Sometimes you have to look at your answer choices to see the format they want it in. So it looks like they distribute out everything except for your x. They keep the x factored. So let's distribute out our parentheses here. So it would be still x, but then it would be so times 100 times 10, which is 1,000, minus 100y plus 10y minus y squared all over 1,000. So this would be x. Now the only thing to do is just sort of combine our middle terms here. Times 1,000 minus 90y minus y squared all over 1,000. Now hopefully one of our answer choices is this expression here. And it looks like A is what we came up with. And that is the answer choice. So I'll make another video now. Let's try and do this testing numbers and see what that looks like.